Hello, my YouTubers. This is Dana Drupsky again for this another video for the showing you of this next series that I have here is the MGM's Great Books on Video series, like MGM UA Home Video released during the 1980s, like the films made from 1935 up to 1964. Yep, and that's very good. The handgraphic when they made in those box series throughout the 1980s. Such classics like Mutiny on the Bounty, Captain's Courageous, Goodbye Mr. Chips, Natural Velvet, The Three Musketeers with Gene Kelly, all the way to Of Human Bondage, something like that, with Ken Novak. And it has some stars in these films in his collection, like Wallace Beery, to Charles Laughton, to Clark Gable, to W.C. Fields, to Spencer Tracy, to Mickey Rooney, to Elizabeth Taylor, to Gene Kelly, to Gregory Peck, to Ken Novak, and many more of this Great Books on Video titles. And in the series of the Great Books on Video ran from 1985 to 1987. And have you watched any great books lately? That's the line from like one of the commercials. And the last MGM tape has a Great Books on Video collection shown in the video sample as told by Roddy McDowell. Same thing for the MGM Classic Diamond Jubilee tapes. Yeah. That's a pretty neat collection I have. Some of them I bought from eBay, some of them I bought from the hobby store, and some of them I bought from the thrift store in the past. So let's get on with like showing you the titles that I have on VHS in this wonderful collection of the Great Books on Video series. Let's start with the 1934's Treasure Island, starring with Wallace Beery and Jackie Cooper. It was made in 1934, and the film was made after 3 years early, with Jackie Cooper and Wallace Beery did the champ in 1931. This is directed by Victor Fleming, the one who directed The Wizard of Oz in 1935, and check this tape was kindly released. And every cassette has those gold sticker label, the golden sticker labels, like on every Great Books on Video series. Treasure Island seems like a great movie from 1934. Now I got a movie that I got recently from my library, Mutiny on the Bounty, starring with Charles Laughton and Clark Gable. It was made in 1935, an Oscar-winning Best Picture. And you know, Mutiny on the Bounty is one of the best films of 1935. This receives like an Oscar performance between Charles Laughton or Clark Gable. That was after Clark Gable did It Happened One Night. And this is a 1985 release. Yep. This tape has got to be reprinted in 1986 when they put that in Macrovision. And at the end of this tape has a Deftone at the end. I got it from my neighborhood library in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Yeah. Kinda this in here. The third one that we have in the collection is Daybreak Copperfield with W.C. Fields and Freddie Barnethmore, something like that. The one who plays Daybreak Copperfield. This was a good movie. Was made in 1935, directed by George Cukor, produced by David O. Selznick. This is like one of W.C. Fields' finest performances without doing a comedy. And I believe this tape is a reprint in 1987 when they have the Deftone at the end of this tape. Because I got this off on eBay. That's why. Way back in 2015 in New York. Here's like another good 1935 film. A Tale of Two Cities, starring with Ronald Colman, based on a book by Charles Dickens. Yeah, at the end of this film, Ronald Colman get his head chopped off at the end. Sad ending. I believe this tape is a 1986 reprint, and it has the Deftone at the end. The print sticker label is inside of this tape right now, but I can't just peel it off. Next one we have here, a fifth title, Anthony Evalsa. It was a 1936 film, starring with the young Fred McMarch and Libby D. Hamlin. Co-stars with Claude Rains and Gail Sondergaard. It was made in 1936, and it's not from MGM. It was made for Warner Brothers in 1936, and is on VHS from 1986 from MGM New Home Video's Great Books on Video collection. And this film was kind of distributed by United Artists at the time. I believe this tape was like a little reprint in the late 80s. And this was in Macrovision. And here's the sixth tape we have. That is Spencer Tracy's finest performance in Captain's Courageous in 1937. Co-star with Freddie Brumarnini, Lionel Barrymore, Melvin Douglas, and the young Mickey Rooney. This is based on the book by Roger Kipling. Roger Kipling's the one who wrote The Jungle Book. 1985 VHS, yeah. Here's what the sticker label looks like. Too bad this ain't Captain January. It's with Shirley Temple and Guy Cabley. That was a good film. I showed that earlier in the Shirley Temple VHS collection. Here's The Good Earth in 1937. Starring with Paul Muni and Louise Rayner was in it too. In this film they had all American actors playing Chinese roles. It was like one of the good films of 1937. Louise Rayner is the one she did the Seatbelt. She did the Great Seatbelt in 1936. This is the 1985 release, and I'll show you what this cassette looks like. The same Paul Muni did Scarface in 1932, with his partner is played by George Raft. Now we got here one of the films of 1939, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn with Mickey Rooney and Rick Siegman. Originally, this movie, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, came out in the early 1980s from the CBS MGM home video. However, this is the 1985 reissue of it. Yep. Show you what this cassette looks like. I believe this tape is a 1987 reprint, and I'll show you. This thing is peeled off. Printed it on January 14, 1987, and this tape has the Deftone at the end. The next one we got here is Goodbye, Mr. Chips, starring with Robert Dunant and Greer Garson. This is one of the good films of 1939, the exact year when The Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind's one of the two best pictures of that year. And did you know they did a remake of a Goodbye, Mr. Chips? Stars with Peter O'Toole and Petula Clark. It's not that great compared to as the original, the Goodbye, Mr. Chips from 1939. 1986 release, yep, and this tape is in the closed captioning of the hearing impaired. Show you what this tape looks like. End label's missing. However, this tape is a reprint in 1988. And it has no Deftone and print date on it either. And here's another film that stars with Greer Garson, starring with Sir Laurence Olivier in Pride and Prejudice from 1940. And this film was directed by Robert C. Leonard, the one who directed one of the Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy films like Maytime and New Moon. Then later he directed The Good Old Summertime, which stars with Judy Garland and Van Johnson. We'll show that later in the Great Musicals collection. Show you what this tape looks like. That was after Laurence Olivier did the role of Heathcliff in the Samuel Goldwyn's Wuthering Heights in 1939. Now we got here Spencer Tracy and Ingmar Bergman and Lana Turner stars in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in 1941. This seems like a good movie. It is hard to see how it could have been remade better by the New York Herald Tribune. They did other film versions of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Before this with Spencer Tracy was with Frederick March, one in 1932. Then much later in 1953, Boris Karloff did the role of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in Abbott and Costello's Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And this film was directed by Victor Fleming this film was directed by Victor Fleming, and it's a 1985 release. The same Victor Fleming directed The Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind. I believe this is the 85 original. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5. And now we have the 12th one in this collection, Natural Velvet, starring with the young Elizabeth Taylor and Mickey Rooney. It was made in 1944. And this was the first film debut for the young Elizabeth Taylor. And that's how Elizabeth Taylor became a star ever since Natural Velvet in 1944. This film co-stars with Angela Lansbury and Donald Crisp. And this tape was in the closed captioning of the hearing impaired. And I like the memorable scene I like when she was at the racetrack. I like something earlier in the film when Mickey Rooney was training Elizabeth Taylor how to ride a horse properly. And this is an ex-rental that I got this back in New York in 2009 when I started to collect these MGM classics on VHS. Now we got here the Dragon Seed. Dragon Seed that stars with Katharine Hepburn, Walter Huston. Yeah. It was made in 1944. It was followed from The Good Earth in 1937. And this is the 1985 release. This is one of my last VHS tapes I got back in New York, right before we moved out of New York when we're trying to move to Pennsylvania at the time. That was like considered me as a bonus that I got it in the thrift store in Jamaica at the time. Brand new. Now here's the movie that I showed you from the other channel of the opening and closing of the beta and the VHS DVD the channel. It is The Earring. The Earring stars with Gregory Peck, Jane Wyman, and Claude Jarman Jr. Claude Jarman Jr. was in another film that stars with Jeanette MacDonald and Lassie, and Sun Comes Up in 1949. One of the finest films of all times by Stephen H. Scrollworm by the Movies on TV. Made in 1946, and this is about when he has to bring home a baby deer called a Thorn. And deer's but nothing but trouble, and also his parents want to kill that deer, but it was pretty shocking, and that's why I don't hunt. That's why I don't kill deers ever since I saw this movie. And this is the one of the certificate things for the great books on video. Have you watched any great books lately? Every cassette back then was worth $24.95 each, about $25 plus sales tax. This is in great condition. I'm having trouble to close the box correctly. And the only one I don't have it in the series were the original The Little Women with Katharine Hepburn in 1933. I used to have that on VHS till I had water damage. So here's The Three Musketeers, starring with Gene Kelly, June Allison, Lana Turner, Angela Lansbury, Frank Morgan, Vincent Price, Van Hufflin, and Keenan Wynn. Directed by George Sidney. George Sidney directed musicals in his career. He later directed Bye Bye Birdie, then he directed The Harvey Girls, and Pal Joey. This is like another certificate thing for the great books on video. Yep, this is the 1985 original handcrafted tape. The next one we got here is Ivanhoe. from 1952, starring with Robert Taylor, Elizabeth Taylor, and Joe Fontaine. And George Sanders is in it too. Made in 1952 from MGM. It's in color. And this is on VHS 1985. And this is a reprint of Ivanhoe. Yep. They don't even have the gold box, but they don't even have the gold silver, but it doesn't have a gold sticker label, but it has like the original MGM UA silver thing. That's the silver sticker label was from 1983, and has no print date. Has a barcode on there. This considered to be like a reprint. Next one we got here is A Prisoner of Zando from 1952. Stars with Stuart Granger, and Stuart Granger plays both roles, like the king and the village person, like taking like a vacation. Also stars with James Mason. Then another great books on video certificate. Look at this sticker label problem. Yeah, I got this in the flea market in Green Acres in 2013. However, probably it has something to do with the water damage. Someone lived in Green Acres. I used to buy them. Next one we got here is The Knights of the Round Table from 1953. Stars with Robert Taylor and Eva Gardner. And this is a 1985 release, and gold sticker label from 1985, and it has no print date on it. However, this tape is a 1988 reprint. Or maybe in 1989. Well, we got down to 5 more great books on videos. Like Something of Value, stars with Rock Hudson and Sidney Poitier, from 1957, and was filmed in black and white. Yeah. And I'll show you what this tape looks like. I believe this tape is a 1986 release from MGM UA Home Video. And however, this tape has it in macro vision on there. And here's the brother Carmenzo, something like that. That stars with Hugh Brenner, Clever Bloom, and Lee J. Cobb from 1957. This is the tape I got it in Brooklyn in 2012 when I was with my day app at the time. The silver sticker label. This tape is like a little reprint in probably in the early 90s, and no print date on there. Here's something I got it for. Here's something I showed you from my updated video recently, and I got it for Christmas. Lonely Hearts, that stars with Montgomery Clift, Robert Ryan, and Dolores Hart and Myrtle Loy. The story behind the headlines. This is a 1987 release, and it has the Great Books on Video Collection promo. And at the end of this copy, it has a Deftone at the end, and this is in macrovision. Next one we got here stars with Hugh Brenner and Tony Curtis in Tash Show Brawl or something like that. Made in 1962. This is a 1987 release from the Great Books on Video. And this tape is a reprint from the early 90s. Silver sticker label, it's not gold. No print date on it either. And last but not least, the last tape we got here that stars with Kim Novak and Lawrence Harvey in Of Human Badges from 1964. And this is the 1986 VHS. The same Ken Novak did Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo in 1958. However, this tape is doesn't have a print date on there, but it has no Deftone on it either. Have you watched any great books lately on VHS? Hold on. So there you have it, folks. The great books on video VHS collection that I showed you. Well, it's been hard to get these tapes for years, but someday soon you can get one of those great books on video VHS tapes when you're on eBay, thrift stores, flea markets, whatever. So now I'm signing off, and I'll see you next time when I have more of the VHS collection. Until then, this is Daniel Drupsky saying I'm signing off. You just take care and stay safe. Goodbye, my YouTube audience. Keep on watching things and try to describe of this video. Bye.